Hi, and welcome to Art with Mrs. Torres. Today we are going to be learning about the artist Vincent Van Gogh. The painting that we are going to be inspired by is called Olive Trees with Yellow Sun and Sky. Pretty simple name, but pretty amazing painting. This is done by Vincent Van Gogh in the year 1889. Not that you need to remember that, but I want to tell you that for today's lesson, we don't need a pencil, we don't need an eraser, and we don't need a Sharpie marker. We're going to be using different tools today. Simple things, you probably still have all of them around the house. The first thing you need is a piece of paper. Now, I'm going to talk to you about paper before I send you off to go on a scavenger hunt to find these things. This paper is the paper out of my printer, and I want you to see how it kind of wrinkles on the side. My painting is great. It turned out fabulous. I'm happy with it, but you can see the paper's kind of wrinkly. So if you don't have watercolor paper and you don't have construction paper, you can use regular paper out of the printer. So I just showed you what that looks like. This is my painting done on watercolor paper. So it's a little bit thicker. It's got a little bit more thickness to it, so it's going to grab those colors a little bit better. And this painting up here is done on construction paper. It worked out great too. So construction paper also is just a little bit thicker than the paper that comes out of your printer. So you're going to need, number one, a piece of paper. So whatever kind of paper you have around the house. Number two, you're going to need a paintbrush. Number three, you're going to need a napkin. That's for wiping your brush off. Or paper towel. Number, what are we on? Four, we're going to need something to put water in. I use just a plastic bowl. If you don't have a plastic bowl, how about a glass? If you don't have a glass, how about a cup? But something that's not going to tip over. I tend to be kind of klutzy when I paint, so I try to do things that are a little bit more shallow and not tall. Okay, so now once you have those tools, the other two items you're going to need are, number one, crayons, and then number two, you're thinking paint, right? We need markers. We're not going to use paint today. We're going to be using markers. And the markers I want you to look for in your house, in your school supplies, in your junk drawer, are markers like this, either Crayola or Rose Art or Walmart brand, Target brand, any kind of marker that's a water-based marker. What I don't want you to look for are Sharpie markers, because that's a permanent marker. We actually want these markers that are going to bleed the color when we get it wet later. So once again, let me repeat what we need before I send you off to go gather your supplies. A piece of paper, paper out of the printer, construction paper, watercolor paper, piece of paper. Number two, a paintbrush. Number three, a napkin. Number four, something to put your water in. Number five, crayons. And number six, markers. But remember, what kind of markers? Water-based markers, not Sharpie marker. Okay, so pause the video and then meet me back here. We're going to have so much fun doing this project today. You're going to like this one. It's going to be fun. Okay, see you in a minute. Gather your stuff. Welcome back to Art with Mrs. Torres. And now we're going to get ready to start our project. So you gathered up your items. You have a paintbrush. You have a napkin, some water. I put mine in a little bowl. You might have yours in a cup. You have some crayons. Now I put mine in a cup. They're just easier for me to grab that way, but if you have them in the box, that works fine. You also have your water-based markers. Remember, we don't want to be using any permanent markers. We want markers that are water-based. So have your parents look and make sure that the markers you're using are water-based markers. That means that they are not permanent. I keep mine in a cup. But if you have them in a box, that works great. You have some paper. Now the paper that you have in front of you, you might have got a paper out of your printer, and that's the kind of paper we normally do our projects on. You'll notice it's a little bit thinner. And if that is all you have at your house, don't worry, it will work just great for our project today, because that's what I did this painting on. And as you can see, it's a little thinner, so it kind of wrinkles, but it's okay. When it's all dry, you can flatten it underneath some heavy books. But if you have some heavier paper, like I'm using today, you can use construction paper or you can use watercolor paper if you have it. So I'm going to be using my watercolor paper, and let's begin. Now you'll notice I didn't ask you to get a pencil, and I didn't ask you to get a eraser because we're just going to draw with our crayons today. Now, the first thing I want you to do is just take your napkin. You can fold it in half if you want to. And I want you to place it on the side that you would normally hold your hand holding the paintbrush. So if you are right-handed, you're going to put it on this side. If you're left-handed, you're going to put it on this side. You're also going to put your water above your paintbrush. So your water is going to go in front of your paintbrush and your napkin, and we're going to use that a little bit later. I just want you to know where to place it before we start to work. Okay, all you need right now is your crayons. So I'm going to show you the painting that I was inspired by for my drawing. So I want to show you the drawing that we're going to do today. Now yours isn't going to look exactly like mine, but it will look something like this. So let's look at this picture, and what do you see? What do you think this is? That's a tree. This up here, what do you think that is? All that green up there. This is the leaves of the tree. What do you think that is? That's the sun. And this beautiful circles all the way around. This is the glow from the sun. Now this here are hills. And what do you think this is running through the hill? If you dipped your toes in it, it would be cold. What do you think that is? It's a stream. So now I'm going to show you what inspired me for my picture. This is a famous painting. Now this isn't the actual painting, but this is a picture of the famous painting by an artist named Vincent Van Gogh. And he painted this many years ago, and it is called Olive Trees. That's what these kind of trees are, with yellow sun and sky. You see how the sun and the sky are both yellow? Because the sun is so bright, it makes even the sky yellow. So we're going to have some fun making this picture, but oh my goodness, that's a lot of trees. Look at all those trees. I thought it would be more fun just to draw one olive tree. We don't have to draw so many. And instead of drawing all these streams, I thought maybe we would just choose one stream. So we're going to make it a little bit easier. Now, I kind of like these mountains in the background. Do you like those? And so if you want to add those, you can add those later. Or if you don't, we can just put the hills in the background. So let's begin by taking our paper and laying it down in front of you. Now, when I did my painting, the first time I did it tall like this. I did my paper tall like a door. This time, I think I'm going to be doing my paper this direction. That way I can make my tree even larger. And I want my tree to be super big in the background. So I'm going to turn my paper, and instead of having it tall this way, I'm going to turn it this way, which is called horizontal. So I want you to decide which way you want to put your paper. There's no wrong way to do it, so just decide right now. And then we're going to look inside of our crayon box, and we are going, or your crayon cup, and you're going to find the color yellow. That's the first color I want you to look for. Now, in my crayon box, my box came with 2 different kinds of yellow. So if you have 2 different yellows to choose from, take them both out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out where we're going to place our sun, somewhere at the top of our paper, but in the middle. So we don't want to put it over here, over here. We're going to put it somewhere in the middle. Because in his picture, you can see the sun is kind of at the top and towards the middle of his painting. So you decide where you want to put it and what shape are we going to make our sun. That's pretty easy. We're going to make a circle. So I think I'm going to place mine right here. And I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to draw a circle. Now I have 2 different colors, yellow. I don't know which one I'm going to use first. I think I'm going to use this darker yellow, and I might use the lighter yellow inside. I haven't decided. Now we don't want to color all of our sun, but what we're going to do instead is we're just going to make some dot, dot, dot lines inside, because that is the way Vincent Van Gogh painted. Look, he made lots of little dashes and dots with his paintbrush. He would go very fast as he was painting like this. So I want you to make some dots or dashes inside your sun. Now the next thing I want you to do is we're going to start to make a circle around our sun, but we're going to do it with our crayon like this. We're going to make a dot to dot line all the way around. And when you're finished with that, I want you to make another circle. And let's do it again. Well, so far, that's not very hard, is it? Now I have another yellow here. So I'm going to take this yellow and I'm going to make some more dashes in between my other ones. Now, if you don't have another yellow, how about, do you have a yellow-orange color? Do you have a light orange like this? You could take that color and make some dashes with that color. So this yellow-orange color, that's a nice color. I could make an outline with this color and make a couple dashes inside. And I'm going to make some dashes around and around and around in a circle, just like I did the yellow. Now, you could see mine aren't perfect. They're going all around. Some are going on top of one another, but that is exactly what Vincent Van Gogh did. All of his little dashes and dots, some of them are right on top of one another. Now let's think about where we want to place our tree. So let's put our orange and yellow crayon away for now. We can come back to them later. And the next color I want you to look for is brown. You have a brown crayon in your crayon box. My brown is getting kind of low. Is yours getting low from all the other projects we've been working on? Okay, so we're going to come down here to the bottom of our paper, in the middle right here. And I'm going to draw a line that goes up and then stops. I want to stop it because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tree with these crooked branches. So an olive tree has these fun, twisty, crooked branches. The first thing I'm going to do is go up. Now, what I'm going to do is put my fingers down like this on my paper, and I'm going to make a dot about 2 fingers away from my first line. So here's my first line. I'm going to put my fingers down like this, and I'm going to jump over my fingers, make a dot with my crayon on the other side. You see how I did that? I put 2 fingers down. You could put 3 fingers if you want to. Maybe you have little tiny fingers, and you could do 3 fingers. That would be fine too. I did 2 fingers. And then we're going to make a line right on top of that to cover it up. I'm going to darken my lines are a little darker. So now, at this point, I'm going to make this line go out this way. I'm going to bring it out and maybe up and out again. And this is going to be my first branch from my tree. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go about a whole finger space away. So I'm going to jump over it, make a dot, and my branch is going to go this direction and up and over. But as the branch gets all the way out to here, it's going to start to get a little skinnier. So the way I'm going to do that instead is I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to take my line to here and make it get a little bit skinnier. See how it's a little bit skinnier here than it was here? It's a little wider. Now the next time I go up to here, I'm going to copy this line, but I'm going to bring it even skinnier. So I'm going to go a little bit closer. And then when I come out here, I'm going to bring it all the way till it touches and it makes a little point. Now let's do it on this side. Now your branches don't have to look like mine. You can make it go any way you want. But the first thing we're going to do is make it go out. And once it goes out, you're going to decide, do you want it to go up? And then we're going to take this branch and we're going to do the same thing that we did before. So we're going to go about a finger space away and make a dot. And I'm going to go this direction. And remember, we want it to get a little skinnier as it goes. And this direction. But look what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something kind of tricky here. I'm going to make this branch go that way. Then I'm going to go right in the middle here and I'm going to draw the letter V. You see how I put that letter V right there? And when I put that letter V, I can connect these two branches with sharp points on the end. I think I'm going to add another sharp branch right here. Now I have a little space right here, so I could add another branch. I could add another line that goes out. I could add another V, and I could close those ones off. So right now, it kind of looks like a strange person with 3 arms, doesn't it? Now I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to run my crayon all the way from the very tippity top of one branch all the way around until it goes all the way to the bottom. I want you to do that on each branch. And once you do it once, if you'd like to, you could do it a second time. It's kind of like a race car going down a racetrack. Now, when you're finished with that, we're going to take our brown crayon and we're going to put that crayon away. Now, I'd like you to see if you have a white crayon in your crayon box. If you have white, I want you to get it out. If you don't have white, look and see if you want to take your yellow crayon. That would work too. So if you don't have white, yellow would work also. Now, what I want you to do is take your white crayon and I want you to draw some long lines. And I want you to press kind of hard, not so hard that you break your crayon. I want you to press kind of hard and draw a few white crayon lines in your tree. Now, while you have your white crayon in your hand, I want you to take your white crayon and draw some dashes inside your sun. Now, I know they're not going to show up as we're drawing them, but they will later, especially if you push kind of hard. You could also add some dashes all the way around the circle of the sun that we drew earlier, making our yellow lines. Now, you can't see my white lines here, but I am drawing white lines. Let me see if I turn my paper. If I rotate it just a tiny bit, you might be able to kind of see a little bit of my white flecks from my crayon because I'm pushing kind of hard. Can you see the white there when I turn my paper? When you're finished, you're going to put your white crayon or your yellow crayon. Let's say you didn't have your white and you used yellow, then you'll have some yellow lines in your tree, and that's going to look great too. Go ahead and put those crayons back in your box or in your cup. We can always come back to them. Now let's go back to our olive tree picture. And what else do you see on your tree? So we've done some twisty branches. Look at the leaves up here. The way Vincent Van Gogh made his leaves, he didn't draw each leaf individually. He actually took his paintbrush and he would get a huge scoop of paint on his paintbrush and he would stick it on the canvas. It would actually stick up off the canvas. It would be so thick, kind of like if you took toothpaste and you put a big glop on a piece of paper. That's what the paint looks like. So we're going to be taking some different colors of green and blue, and we're going to make these fun little circles of color. So let's look into our little crayon cup and see what we have. Well, I have a couple different greens in my cup. If you have some separate different kinds of green, I have three, it looks like 3 different kinds of green. And I might want to use some blue too. I love blue, and blue would be so pretty in my tree. We could even add a little brown because sometimes you see leaves that have brown in them. So here are some fun colors for us to make our leaves. So what I'm going to do now is I'm looking at his picture and you see the leaves are like little circles, like little balls. So let's try that. We'll experiment with one of the colors. I'm going to try this pretty green. You choose whichever green you want. You can even close your eyes and just pick one of the greens just at random. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a fluffy ball, kind of like a puffy cloud. And then I'm going to take my crayon and I'm just going to make some quick marks with one color. See how I'm just going like this? Don't color it in. You want to actually just kind of tap the crayon there. Now pick up your crayon and go over here, and whatever you did on this side, I want you to do another one over here. So I'm gonna make another fluffy cloud ball for my olive tree, and then I'm gonna tap, 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 tap with my first color. Now I wanna make another big puffy cloud right here, covering up this top of this branch, and then I'm gonna tap, tap, tap my green crayon right over it. Let's see, did he only do 3? Oh my goodness, no, he made many little circles on his tree. So I'm not done yet. Maybe I can fit another big puffy green cloud over here. Tap, 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 tap. And you can keep making these until you like what your tree looks like. I think I'm gonna get one more big puffy cloud right here, and then I'm gonna switch colors. Tell me when you're ready to switch colors. I think I'm ready. I'm gonna put this green over in my cup, and I'm gonna pull out a different green. Now I have a little bit darker green. Let's see what this one's gonna look like. Oh, that's gonna look awesome with my other color. So now I'm just gonna go in, I'm gonna scribble scrabble this color over my other color. Work fast, the way Vincent Van Gogh worked. Sometimes he would paint so quick he would forget to sleep. He would forget to eat. He would be having so much fun painting. Sometimes he would forget to go to sleep. I don't think I have ever been painting or drawing or doing homework or even reading a book and forget to go to sleep or forget to eat. Now, when you're done with this color green, I want you to make this green get down a little farther. Whatever color you're working with, make the tree get a little bit bigger. You can even bring your tree across and cover up part of your sun. That's okay. Now, when you're finished with that color green, try a different green. I have this pretty lime green that I could try. Now, when I'm done with that, I'm going to experiment with some blue. I think blue would be pretty too. It kind of turns to turquoise when I put blue over the green. Now, when you're finished with your blue and your green crayons, then I want you to take your blue and I want you to run a couple lines of blue right through the trunk of your tree. If you notice, Vincent Van Gogh did not just use brown in his pictures. He's got some purple in his tree. He's got some blue in his tree. So don't be afraid to experiment and try a different color in your tree. Now, when you're finished, go ahead and put those crayons back. And now we're going to work on the hillside around our tree and our stream. The hillside, this part right here, we're just going to choose one color of orange. So pick any of the oranges that you like in your box. And we're just going to draw a line that goes across our paper. This is called a horizon line. So this line is going to be the ground, and above the ground is going to be our sky. Our sky is up here and our ground is down here. Now I'm going to figure out where I want to put my stream using my yellow crayon, my orange crayon. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to start way over here in the corner. And I'm going to go a couple spaces up from the bottom right here. I'm going to make a little dot. I'm going to take this line and I'm just going to bring it all the way behind my tree. And I'm going to pretend I'm drawing through the tree. And I'm going to come out the other side. I'm going to do the same thing again down at the bottom. I'm at the bottom of the paper on this side of the paper, not this side, this side. I'm going to make a dot. And I'm going to bring my line all the way to the tree. But this time, as I get closer to the tree, I'm going to let the lines get closer together. Do you see how my lines are getting closer together and closer and closer? So as you watch this line, it looks like it's getting closer together. It kind of makes you feel like that stream is going farther away in the picture. So here, from here, I'm going to jump over the tree, or you can draw a line through your tree if you have to, and then you're going to come out the other side, and you're going to make that stream get smaller and smaller till it's a little tiny like snake or worm way off in the distance. So this is going to be our water, and around this is going to be our orange ground. So right now, I just want you to go like this real fast, and take your orange crayon and just scribble a little orange crayon all over the hillside right here. Now jump over the stream, hop to this side, and do the same thing. And while you have this orange in your hand, you're going to do it right back here. And that little space right there is a part of the land in the background too. And let me show you his painting again. You see, there's orange ground in between the branches, and that's what we're doing. We're putting our orange ground between the branches. All right, take your orange crayon, put it back in your cup, and I want you to look for brown. That same brown that we used on our tree. And this time you're just going to go in and add a couple little lines of brown wherever you put the orange on your ground, on your hillside. Okay, when you're finished, go ahead and put it away. And now I want you to look for blue. Well, blue happens to be one of Mrs. Torres' favorite colors. So I can't wait to use the blue. Now we're going to take blue and, oh, you know what another color I really love is purple. And if you would like to, you could even use pink. Because if you look at Vincent Van Gogh's painting, when he drew and painted his water, he didn't just use one color. He used lots of color in his water. Look at, there's pink, there's peach, there's white, there's blue, there's brown, there's green. He did all kinds of colors. I see purple. So when we're doing our water, it doesn't have to just be one color. But the first thing I want you to do is just retrace the line for the edge of the water. Do you remember when we were drawing that stream earlier? This line right here. And then we jumped over the tree and we drew it in the background. I want you to retrace those lines again, just so you know where your water is. And then you could just take your crayon and add a little blue. Now don't color it, just scribble. Just make some quick dashes like this. Now, the reason I don't want you to color it all perfect is we still are going to use markers. Even though we're using crayons, we're going to use markers next. Okay, I am ready to get ready to try the markers. Are you ready to try the markers? So go ahead and put your crayons back in your cup. Oh, wait, I forgot to use purple. I told you I was going to use more than one color. So I'm going to take my purple and tap some purple in there. You could try some pink too. I'm putting it in the stream behind the tree. Now, whenever you're finished with your colors, go ahead and put those back in your cup. Now let's get ready to try our markers. So my markers are in a different cup. And if you don't have them in a cup, you have them in your box. The first color I want you to look for in your marker box is yellow. We are going to take that yellow marker and we're going to make some quick dashes of yellow in between our dashes of our crayon. Now, don't forget to add some inside. We're not coloring, we're just making some quick little dashes. Every place in the sky that you didn't put your crayon, I want you to put some yellow. The name of this painting is called Olive Trees with Yellow Sun and Yellow Sky. So we are creating a yellow sky right now by just taking our pen and making some fast little dashes. You can also add some yellow on top of your tree. the leaves of the tree. When you're finished, go ahead and put your yellow back in your cup or back in the box. And the next color I want you to look for is orange. Now for our orange marker, I don't want you to put orange everywhere. We're just going to take our orange and trace around our sun. And I want you to put just a little orange right here in the corner of the sky. And a little orange in the corner of the sky there. And a tiny bit of orange at the bottom of the sky. That's all we need, just a little bit. We're hardly putting any. But while you have this orange in your hand, now I'm going to have you put some orange all over the ground that we drew earlier with our orange crayon. Now, I know you are thinking this is starting to get very colorful, but you think it's pretty now. Oh my goodness, you just wait till we start to paint. It's going to be so beautiful. Now, when you're done with your orange, you can go ahead and put that one back in your cup. Make sure you put those lids on tight so that they don't dry out. And the next color I want you to look for is brown. Now the brown is going to go along our tree. We're not going to color it. We're just going to trace the sides of our tree. You can see that the brown marker is darker than the brown crayon that we used earlier. Now I'm not coloring, I'm just kind of drawing a few little lines. And then you can draw a couple lines right through the middle. You're going to notice that your marker isn't going very well on the paper. And that's because we have some wax from the crayon there. And the wax of the crayon is doing something called resisting. It's resisting the watercolor. It's like they don't want to be friends. They push each other away. Go ahead and put your brown back. And our final color is green. So I'd like you to get a green marker. And I want you to go into the leaves of your tree and just scribble a little bit of green all around. Don't need very much. Just scribble it around. If you want to take your green while you have it and add a couple little dashes of green in your water, the way Vincent Van Gogh did, you can. And speaking of water, which was blue, if you want to go in and hide a little blue in your tree, you can do that also. I put a little blue in my tree. It's going to make a pretty turquoise. All right, my final color, I'm closing up my marker, putting all of them back, checking that your markers are closed tight. We don't want them to dry out. And we're going to get ready now to experiment with painting. So we're going to make sure that all of our tools are off of our paper. Now I'm going to slide out my green paper and I'm going to put my white paper behind me like this so that I paint. You can see the paint is going to go right off the edge of my paper. So make sure you have some paper underneath you before we start to paint. Just another piece of paper, some extra paper that you have so that you don't paint on top of your table. I've got my water cup right here, my little bowl full of water. I have a napkin right underneath my bowl of water. That way I can dab my brush onto my napkin. And the first thing I'm going to do is wash our brush. Now, I like to use a bowl for cleaning my brush because my bowl doesn't tip over as easy as a cup. But if you have a cup, just be careful. So the first thing we're going to do with our paintbrush is we're going to paint the lightest part of our picture. So we know that brown is pretty dark, and the orange and the blue and the green seem pretty dark. The lightest color is up here in the yellow part of the sky. So I want you to take your brush and very gently, I just want you to start to tickle your paper with the water. What you're going to notice is that as you wet the paper, all of a sudden, the marker starts to wake up and turn into watercolor paint. You see how I'm painting my paper? Look at that. I'm moving my brush across the paper. Oh my goodness, look what's happening. my water is starting to hit the orange. And look what happens when it hits the orange paint. The orange starts to melt. And then I have orange paint, and my orange mixes with my yellow, and now I have this really pretty color, just like in Vincent Van Gogh's painting. So I've got my orange over here. I'm going to wake it up. Don't forget to get some more water. I'm going to wake it up, and I'm going to bring that orange right over to my yellow and wiggle waggle my brush. And once my sky is all painted, all my extra paint is just going right here onto my background paper. I have a little bit of sky hiding right underneath my tree here. Do you see that? Speaking of tree, we want to paint nice and slow. We don't want to paint everything like this, because then our brown is going to mix with everything else, our brown from our tree. So we want to take our time and do one thing at a time. So we're going to let our sky dry a little bit more up at the top. And I'm going to come down, I'm going to clean my brush now and tap it on my napkin. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to start to wake up the ground around my tree because it's also orange. Look what happens. I'm just going to very softly wiggle my brush. I'm going to do my best to try not to get the water into my tree. It's okay if you do, but just do your best. Just try. I'm going to paint the water across my paper as I make my beautiful hillside, just like Vincent Van Gogh's painting. So Vincent Van Gogh was staying in a hospital. He was kind of sick and he wasn't feeling very well, and he was staying in a hospital. And this painting was one of the things that he painted when he would look out his window from the hospital. And this is what made him happy, was painting. And they tried to find medicine to make him happy. They tried to give him all kinds of things to make him happy. But the thing that made him the most happy when he was sad was painting. So I enjoy painting too. And sometimes when I'm not feeling very happy, I will get out my paints or my crayons or my colored pencils, and I just get some paper and I paint a picture. And even if I don't like it, I still have fun while I'm painting. It may not be a perfect picture. It doesn't matter. I just have fun. That's what we're doing today, just like how Vincent Van Gogh painted. So sometimes you can do your artwork and you could say, oh, that's the best picture I've ever drawn. And sometimes you'll do a picture and you're like, I don't know if I like that one. Well, this is a funny thing about Vincent Van Gogh. When he was doing his paintings, he loved his paintings. He thought they were beautiful, and he wanted everyone to have his paintings. And do you know what? People didn't understand his style of painting, and they didn't like his paintings, and nobody bought his paintings. He would bring them to art shows, and everybody would make fun of him and laugh at his paintings. I thought his paintings were beautiful, and I bet if you were alive when he was living, you would have bought his paintings. He only sold one painting the entire time he was living. All right, we painted the ground and we painted the sky. Now let's go up and paint our leaves on our tree. I'm going to paint the leaves before I paint the branches, because the branches are dark brown. I think the leaves would be kind of fun. Now, you might notice as you're painting the leaves that your paint starts to leak into the sky, and that is okay. It happened on my painting too, so please don't worry if that happens. My colors will start to leak together because your paper's still wet. Ooh, I'm starting to see some pretty colors from my green and blue marker. The last thing that we need to paint on our tree is the trunk and the branches. All right, now the branches and the trunk, all we have to do is bring our paintbrush up and down. Do you remember when we hid the white crayon in our tree earlier? We were using that white crayon, if you had one, or the yellow. Tell me when you start to see it as you paint water over your brown paint. It's going to paint the paper, but if you have a little stripe in your picture like that, see my stripe right there? That's from my white crayon, and here is a stripe from my yellow crayon. It's showing. That means that our crayon was stronger than the watercolor paint. And that word is called resist. So the oil out of the crayon, or the wax out of the crayon, actually is stronger than the watercolor paint. Now the final part of our picture before we're finished is to color your water. So I'm going to clean my brush. I don't want to have any brown in my water. And I'll make sure my brush is clean. I'm going to tap it on my napkin to make sure it's clean. Looks pretty good to me. And then I'm going to wake up my water now. I told you that people didn't really appreciate Vincent Van Gogh's paintings when he was alive. But guess what? Once he passed away and people started to see his artwork, he became very famous. Unfortunately, not while he was alive, but later after he was not here anymore, people started to see his paintings. And now his paintings sell for millions of dollars. One of his paintings sold for $82 million. But when he was alive, nobody would buy his paintings. Oh my goodness. Maybe this painting will be worth $1 million one day. Maybe your painting will be worth $82 million like Vincent Van Gogh's one day. Well, I hope you had fun painting with me today. Today was fun because we got to paint, but we didn't paint with paint, did we? We painted with our watercolor markers. I just think that was kind of a cool trick. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you had fun doing our olive tree painting. And the artist that we learned about today was named Vincent Van Gogh. I will see you for our next art lesson. Have a great day.